Hello everyone, this is Pooka, and here is another deck I have whipped up for you guys. This is kind of an old concept, and we're going to try to revisit it now that some new cards are out, and that's going to revolve around the card Stoutland. So this is not a card that has been very popular, but it does have a very interesting ability. It's called Sentinel. As long as Stoutland is your active Pokemon, your opponent can't play any supporter cards from his or her hand. Now, there's a lot of reasons why this card may have gotten a little stronger in the recent months. I think the first one and biggest one is that Pokemon Catcher received that errata, which puts it on a coin flip, because now there aren't as many Pokemon Catchers to worry about. Stoutland was pretty weak. You know, if your opponent could just play a Pokemon Catcher and get it out of the active spot, and then just play supporters again, it didn't do very much. So that's number one. Number two, we do have red card to work with now, which is pretty nice to put your opponent down to a low hand size and disrupt them that way. So the basic idea here is we're going to try to get Stoutland out as quickly as possible, and then play a red card to put your opponent down to 4 cards, and then play a Getsis to get rid of all item cards there, leaving your opponent with just supporters and energy. They can't play supporters, so basically all they're going to be left with, I can't talk today, going to be left with is energy. And if all they have is energy, you can probably win. So that's the basic idea of the deck. It probably won't always work that way in execution, but we're going to try it out and see how it works. Now, we do need an attacker. Unfortunately, Stoutland does suffer from the new card Yveltal EX. If we were to put 3 energy on Stoutland and try to use Wild Tackle, just a 2 energy Evil Ball already does 120 damage, because that's how strong Evil Ball is. And then with a Muscle Band, it already does 140. Or if you flip tails on 1 Wild Tackle, then just an Yveltal EX with 2 energy knocks out Stoutland. So we want to attack with something else and just switch into Stoutland repeatedly. That's going to be my plan for this deck. And the card we're going to do that with is Palkia EX. Has this attack Strafe, does 50 damage, and then switches into one of your bench Pokemon. So every turn we're going to Strafe. It only does 50, but we can increase the damage with some cards. And then switch into Stoutland, continually shutting off your opponent's supporter cards. So this is a new way to kind of lock down an opponent. We've had item lock in the past, but supporter lock might be even stronger. So we have 2 cards to help Strafe do more damage. Number 1 is Muscle Band. We'll run 2 of these. You do 20 more damage with Strafe. So this will allow you to 2-hit knock out pretty much every non-EX Pokemon, which is pretty important. Also knocks out a Sableye in 1 hit, which is very, very important. And we also run a 1/1 line of Altaria, which has Fight Song. This will allow Strafe to do 20 additional damage as well. So with Altaria in play and a Muscle Band, we're now doing 90 damage, which can knock out any EX, basically, in 2 hits, since most of them do just have 180 or 170 HP. There are some ways to mess with that, yes, but for the most part, we're going to 2-hit knock out most EXs with Muscle Band and Altaria in play, using Strafe twice. So that's the basic idea here. Palkia, switch into Stoutland, continually deny supporter cards. Now, we also have some support Pokemon. Keldeo EX is nice, since we can just slap a Float Stone on him and rush in and retreat. This really gets rid of problems with status effects on Stoutland. Say we get put to sleep by a Hypnotoxic Laser or something like that. We can just rush in and retreat, and then Strafe, and then switch back to Stoutland again. So Keldeo seems like a pretty reasonable addition. Then we also have Mr. Mime can block bench damage. Seems like bench damage might be a problem sometimes for this deck, so we can have Mr. Mime in here. And also Jirachi EX, which I just kind of like as a support Pokemon. Since anything that can search for a Pokemon, like an Ultra Ball or a Level Ball, can get Jirachi, which can turn right into a supporter, and it can turn into a specific one. Say you want to Getsis or something like that, just go ahead and do that. Now, a lot of people hate the fact that I use Tropical Beach so much, but this deck actually wants Tropical Beach out of play. That is the number 1 way for people to get around the no supporter of Sentinel. So we're actually running to Aspertia City Gym just as a default stadium to get rid of Tropical Beach to prevent our opponent from drawing cards. So this is going for pretty much complete denial here of drawing cards. We can't really stop things like Bicycle and Roller Skates, but with Getsus we can keep those out of our opponent's hand and just kind of hope they don't top deck those. Now another thing to note is we only run one N in this deck. And that's because if you're trying to put your opponent at a low hand size, you don't want to give them 6 fresh cards. This can still be useful late in the game if you want to put your opponent down to 1 or 2 cards or something like that. But early on, it's not very good in this deck because you're giving them more cards, and we're just trying to take those away. So we focus more on other supporters. Otherwise, just 4 double colorless energy, and then 5 basic energy. The basic energy don't matter too much, but we do run grass and water, just in case we need to power up Palkia EX's Dimension Heal. Probably won't use it too often, but it's better to just have the option there, and water can be used for Secret Sword as well, I suppose. And that is basically the deck. It's kind of an untested concept, but it does have some definite potential behind it. You never know when locking down an opponent can be powerful. And of course, I always have a game lined up for it, so let's go ahead and take a look at Stoutland in action. So we're going up against a player named PokeChill15. We'll see how this one turns out. I have a decent starting hand here. Not sure who to start with. I'm actually going to go with Keldeo EX and then put Lillipup on the bench. And alright, let's get started off here. And we see a Sableye, which normally means some kind of... Well, it always meant Darkrai before, but now it's probably Yveltal. So we'll see how decks change now with X and Y out. Maybe we'll see less Darkrai, more Yveltal. You don't know if you're seeing Garbodor or not. We'll find out, though. I am going to play a red card on the first turn here, and I have an option to Shauna, Skyla, or Juniper. I'm just going to go Juniper because the turn 2 Stoutland is just so strong that I want to draw as many cards as possible. It doesn't look like it's too likely for me to draw Rare Candy Stoutland and then get it in the active spot next turn, but we will be able to just put an energy onto Palkia EX and pass. And we do see a laser go down onto the Keldeo EX. Puts me to sleep. Hopefully I don't stay asleep. That would be a bummer. And we see a Juniper. And there we have our answer right away. Yveltal EX and Mewtwo EX as well. So this is a very heavily focused Yveltal EX deck. And we do see a Junk Hunt for an Ultra Ball and a Hypnotoxic Laser. So now I can decide, do I want to N or Getsus? I play the Getsus, and there's a horrible glitch on Pokemon TCG Online that doesn't show you your opponent's hand when you Getsus all the time. It only works some of the time for some reason. It's super annoying. I don't know why it does that, but it definitely ruins one of the best aspects of Getsus, which is looking at your opponent's hand. I don't really understand why it's like that, but oh well. But here, I can go for a Rare Candy and a Stoutland right here. We can Skyla for the Rare Candy, and then just play the DCE and retreat to Stoutland and just start shutting off supporters. Seems like the right thing to do. My opponent doesn't have a whole lot of a setup at this point. So we're just going to retreat to Stoutland, and a Sentinel is in effect. So no supporters for my opponent. No Garbodor is out yet. That could be a very problematic thing in the future. If a Garbodor does come out with a Float Stone or just any tool, my opponent will just always have access to supporters, and the whole strategy of my deck kind of gets ruined. Now we do see Yveltal EX, who is kind of the bane of my existence at this point. Quick Pressure is very difficult to deal with, and man, I don't know what I'm going to do next. I'm going to play a Level Ball, and I was searching for good old Jirachi EX at this point, but he is nowhere to be found. He's hiding out in the prizes, of course, when you need him the most. So we're going to have to take a Lillipup instead. And I can decide, do I want to put a Float Stone down right here? I know my opponent has a red card. He did junk hunt for it. So I have to decide, do I want to play cards and, kind of give more information away about my hand? Or do I just keep the 4 cards in my hand and make it look like I have strong cards in my hand so that he'll red card me into 4 new ones? That's why I'm not playing down all of my cards here. If I play my hand down to 1 here, my opponent's probably going to think, oh, well, I don't want to give him 4 fresh cards. Even if he does have a supporter, there's no point in doing that. So I want to keep cards in my hand. And also, if I drew computer search like I just did, I do want to have cards to discard so I can actually search for a supporter. So that's exactly what I'm going to do right here. And I can grab probably an N or a Juniper. I'm going to go for the Juniper right here. And we'll drop a Muscle Band onto the Palkia. Draw a fresh 7 cards. And there we go. Finally, an energy onto Palkia EX. We can retreat. And then red card my opponent down to 4 cards again. Should disrupt him a little bit. And follow that with a Strafe. Doing 90 damage thanks to the Muscle Band and the Altaria, or the regular Altaria. There's no Altaria EX. But yeah, 90 damage with Strafe. That's big damage there, since I can now knock it out in 2 hits. I have to decide what to switch into here. I'm going to say Keldeo EX is a good option to switch into here. My opponent would need a double colorless energy, or, let's see, an energy plus a Hypnotoxic Laser to knock out the Keldeo. And if he doesn't have one of those, it's a big turn. I don't give up a prize. And the other 2 Pokemon on my bench are very important at this point. Number 1, the Altaria, to give me some extra damage. And then number 2, the Lillipup. Because I think I do need Stoutland at some point to give myself a shot. Here is a Skyla that can go for all sorts of things. And looks like it's going to be an Enhanced Hammer, though. I don't particularly mind that. We see the Enhanced Hammer discarding the DCE. I have another one in my hand. That is the second one hitting the discard pile. So I am starting to run out of those. But I can just attach, and we should be fine. And my opponent does get 2 prizes, but I will get this. And I will not get to see his hand again. Pokemon TCG Online. This has been the worst update ever. So I have some tough decisions on what to Ultra Ball away here. But the obvious choice is to get a Stoutland. And we'll go ahead and do that. And Strafe, knocking out this Yveltal EX. And then putting Stoutland into the active spot. And we're actually in a very, very strong position at this point. My opponent has no energy in play for 3 cards now. And can't play supporters. This is huge. And all I'm going to do here is retreat. And we'll attach again to the Palkia EX in case of another Enhanced Hammer. And we can just, strafe 90 and switch into Stoutland. And things are looking up right now. If we can just keep strafing and going back and forth, we'll be good. And of course, just as I say that, there is a Tool Scrapper to discard another Floatstone. And it got rid of my second Muscle Band. That is devastating. I'm going to try for a Getsis here, I guess. Because I don't really have anything else to do. And I don't even get to see my opponent's hand. But I know there were no items there. So it must be some supporters or something. Maybe a stadium. And there is a top deck DCE. We see the X-Ball. Boy, this is... Man, that Tool Scrapper really killed me there. Tool Scrapper really hurts these kinds of decks that really rely on Floatstone. You can only play so many Floatstones and Muscle Bands. And when you start to run out, it's a real bummer. But I am just going to have to pass at this point. And Stoutland's probably going to go down. We see an Ultra Ball discarding Skyla and something else. And searching for a Garbodor, so that is going to be very problematic if a Pokemon tool does go down onto that. And my opponent actually decides to pass the turn, realizing that if he takes the knockout, Palkia just comes up and uses Dimension Heal and knocks out the Mewtwo. So now I have to kind of threaten the Stoutland attacking here. So I have to attach a water and say, hey, you know what? If I draw a double colorless, I can Wild Tackle for the knockout, so you got to do something about it. This will force some action from the opponent. He could just kind of pass and gamble, but looks like he is going to go for the X-Ball. And here I can end my opponent down to 2 cards. It would be nice to Ultra Ball and get a Stoutland into play, but I would have to discard a Tool Scrapper and my N, and I can't even strafe for the knockout, I don't think, because I'm only doing 70. I would be 10 damage short. So I am going to go ahead and just end my opponent down to 2 cards. It's still a very strong play. And yep, I'm just going to Dimension Heal for the knockout. We're going to save that energy because I saw that Enhanced Hammer. I'm kind of weary of what's going to happen. And this game is getting close. We see a Verbank City Gym and a Darkness Energy. And oh, there's a Skyla though. That's not good. But wow, it goes for a Floatstone. Not expecting that. And my opponent has no cards. Are we about to win here with Palkia Stoutland against what is sure to be one of the strongest decks coming out of X and Y? Victory certainly is in reach at this point. We can Dimension Heal for 100 damage, and just one more Dimension Heal and I win the game, knocking out the Yveltal EX. Oh no, he top decks an N, and oh no, a laser. I stay asleep, a Floatstone on the Garbodor as well. Oh no! Oh, the tails on the sleep flip. If I flip heads, I wake up and Dimension Heal and win the game. Now I just gotta hope my opponent doesn't draw an energy here to Evil Ball for the game. Oh man. Oh, there's a Floatstone that can at least buy him a turn to retreat. And now I got some decisions to make. Do I want to Dimension Heal and just kind of gamble that my opponent doesn't draw an energy and see what happens? Or do we just kind of play it safe, strafe into a Lillipup, and try to go that route? I think I'm going to play it safe at this point, strafe into a Lillipup, see what we can do. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. Top decks the Juniper with a 0-card hand. Things are falling apart right now. And it looked like we had a certain win there. If I would have just woken up from that Hypnotoxic Laser, I would have just won the game right there. But now, who knows what's going to happen. Now, I do get a chance to knock out Sableye here. So we do have that going for me. And that Yveltal EX does have a lot of damage on it. So, I mean, this game is not over. It's a very scrappy game, to say the least. I won't be able to use my abilities anymore, which really hurts. Maybe I should have saved that Tool Scrapper for a better turn, but getting that 100 damage onto Yveltal EX is definitely a good thing. But I am going to strafe into Lillipup and just kind of use him as a sacrifice at this point. If that Yveltal attacks me, then I just bring out Palkia EX and Dimension Heal for the game. So we'll see what my opponent's going to do here. We see an Yveltal EX and then a Juniper. What is going to happen? This has been one crazy game. Catcher! Whew. Heads there would have been the end of Palkia. Oh my goodness, what a crazy back and forth game this has been. Nobody knows what's going to happen next. I thought for sure I had this game locked up and then all that stuff happened in a row. Oh no, a scramble switch. This is absolutely brutal. Oh no. Now the fresh Yveltal EX is here, and that might just be the end. I gotta think, is there anything I can do at this point to give myself a chance to win the game? Obviously I need to send out Palkia EX right here. I gotta take a look, how much stuff have I gone through? Muscle bands are gone. I have one Floatstone left. And I'm gonna Skyla right here, searching for probably a Floatstone, just so I have that for next turn. Oh, this is just really, really bad at this point. I could do a red card, but that probably won't help me at this point. I'm just running low on resources right now. Now I gotta decide, do I want to attach the Floatstone right now? It depends on how many Ns my opponent has played. Let's see, 1, 2, only 2 N, and I would be N down to 1. And there is a Tool Scrapper in the discard pile. So odds are he probably doesn't play 2. I don't know why a Garbodor deck would play 2 Tool Scrapper. So we'll put the Floatstone onto Stoutland and strafe right into it. So next turn, I'm going to Ultra Ball for Palkia EX, retreat to my Palkia that has the energy, and then strafe to the fresh Palkia EX. And then if I draw my last double colorless energy, I can then retreat the Palkia and Dimension Heal for the game. That's the sequence I'm going for here. Oh no. He does play 2 Tool Scrapper in his Garbodor deck. Oh man. I did not see that coming. There's an N to 1, and I am out of everything at this point. Stoutland has a 3 retreat cost, so I can't even move him out of the active position. And I think that is going to wrap this up. This was a really hard-fought game from both sides. I think this really shows off the power of both decks here. Stoutland definitely has the opportunity to lock somebody down with Sentinel, but Yveltal EX certainly is one of the most powerful Pokemon we've ever seen. Quite possibly the best Pokemon we have ever seen ever in the Pokemon TCG. And at the end of the day, Hypnotoxic Laser is what does me in. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and maybe Stoutland is a deck worth looking into. I'm not too sure. The Sentinel is definitely a powerful ability that can really change a game and lock somebody out if they rely too much on supporter cards. So I don't know, maybe I'll have to go try to tinker with this deck a little bit more and see if we can find some way to make it better. But that's going to wrap it up for this one. I am Pooka from the Top Cut. I will have some more videos for you guys soon, and I'll see you guys next time.